remember when the American taxpayers bailed out the banks? And they did that because they were considered too big to fail. And the justification offered then was that those institutions were allowed, if they were allowed to fail, it would have a disastrous ripple effect on our economy. And no matter whether you think those policies were fair, the logic was pretty sound. We need to prevent any future damage to our economy while we focus on a recovery. And I think that the logic needs to be extended to our most valuable resource of our society, our children. Our children's futures should always be considered too big to fail, for they'll be the future leaders of our country, and we need to prepare them for the responsibilities to lead us in the future. For this reason, I encourage our elected leaders to accept President Obama's offer and pass portions of the 2011 American Jobs Act. I'm speaking specifically about the $30 billion to modernize public schools and the $35 billion to put those laid off due to state budget cuts back to work. Under the current proposal, California would receive more than $2 billion for investments in school infrastructure, which would create as many as 35,000 jobs. That could mean $10 million right here in Visalia Unified to be used to modernize schools like Conyers School, to update school equipment and buildings. It would provide up to $14 million here in Visalia Unified to put teachers back to work or to prevent layoffs in the future. And I, like many of you, actually share concerns about the national debt. I understand the desire to minimize the burden that we'll pass on to our children, but I believe an even greater threat would be to send them out into the world unprepared for the challenges that they'll face. By utilizing these funds, we would not only be putting people back to work, but we'd be investing in the future of the next generation, investing in education. Now's not the time for partisan politics and political battles. Now's the time to rise above parties and to make wise investments in the future of our children and in the future of our country. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. I'm not as well prepared as our superintendent, but that's why he's the boss and I'm not. But I do have a few notes and a few things I'd like to say. I was recently thinking of my brother and myself when I was about 8 and he was about 10. And my brother used to tell me that if we didn't watch what he wanted to see on TV, he'd make a big scene and he'd hit me and I'd cry and our parents would come in and we wouldn't get to watch any TV at all. And I was thinking about this because I always ended up watching what he wanted to watch, or was nothing at all. And it seems that's the way of politics in America right now. If you don't do what the biggest bully in the room wants you to do, you don't get to watch any TV, you don't get any money, you don't get schools, and you don't get jobs. I want to tell you, I taught for almost 30 years. I prepared students to work in the workplace. But right now, with unemployment in Tulare County pushing past 16%, many of my former students don't have an opportunity for jobs, and certainly not jobs that will lead to a retirement, will lead to the American dream of homes and families and their children doing better than they did. Because that was the American dream, that every generation that followed us would do a little bit better than we did. I'm scared. I'm not scared of my big brother anymore, but I'm scared for the students. I'm scared for students who can't find work. I'm scared for teachers in the classroom who can't teach students. I'm scared for teachers giving their all and crying because their all isn't enough anymore, because they have 30 or more students in the kindergarten classroom, because they have 40 or more students in English classrooms, because they have 50 or 60 in PE grounds. These teachers can't teach individuals when they have so many that they need to reach out to. They can't anticipate each child's needs. They're overwhelmed. Teachers can't control the economy, but teachers didn't wreck the economy either. But teachers are bearing the brunt of the failing economy through their students, through their jobs, through their facilities. through the breaking of dreams all around them. Those who caused this economic crisis were bailed out, but those who did not cause this economic crisis are still suffering. And they don't know when life will return to the American dream that my parents passed on down to me. Congressman Nunes needs to step up. He needs to be a hero. We so need a hero right now. We always talk about heroes in America. Well, we need our politicians to be heroes. We need them to have the courage to do what is right when they see it. By the way, I'm not the first person to say that. Confucius said that. Have the courage to do what is right when you see it. $30 billion is proposed to modernize public schools, and it will create 36,000 jobs or more in California, repairing and modernizing our schools. These are schools that need this before, like in China, they come collapsing down around our heads. We need to put people back to work, and we need to make sure our kids will be competitive in a modern economy. We need to remember that public schools are the foundation of a democracy. And when our public schools collapse, so will follow our democracy. Thank you.
I'm a Republican that did not support President Obama's 2000 election, his 2009 stimulus plan, or many of his appointments. However, I do support President Obama's jobs bill as it stands today with strong conviction. This is a nonpartisan issue, and it's a critical bill that is needed to move us out of the current economic recession. We have to judge it on its substance and what it's going to do for our neighbors, our community, our schools, and our country. The job plan allows individuals who are unemployed access to training programs and technical schools. This will give them the skills and specific vocational training they will need for employment during the economic recovery. Industry and our local businesses are looking for individuals who possess the proper technical skills so they can develop, expand, and grow economically. It will also help school districts keep our teachers and support staff on the job. This will add additional teachers to the Visalia Unified School District as well as to the College of Sequoias. Currently, we have too many students in our classroom with less individualized attention for each student, making learning more difficult. This will hurt our country down the road when our children go into adults. California currently ranks 46th out of the 50 in student-to-teacher ratio. We are 4th from the bottom. If our generation doesn't educate them with more than just a basic education, then we have failed our children, our students, and our future leaders. And as all of us know, an educated society is a prosperous society. Specifically, the American Jobs Act of 2011 will allocate $30 billion to modernize 35,000 public schools across the country, and another $30 billion provided directly to California to support more than 37,000 educators and first responders. California will receive almost $3 billion to invest in school infrastructure, which will create as many as 36,000 jobs. California will also receive an additional $1.1 billion to modernize our community colleges. This would mean here that at Conyer Elementary School, we would be scheduled for a $1.5 million modernization, as well as numerous other school sites around Visalia Unified. The superintendent spoke earlier, up to $24 million would be available to Visalia Unified for modernization of our public schools. Further, as part of the American Jobs Act, only 3.1% of your wages would be deducted as Social Security taxes from the average worker instead of the current 6.2%. This is a tax cut of $1,500 for middle-class households earning $50,000 a year, and a tax cut of $2,500 a month for households earning $80,000 a year. I understand that our representatives in Congress are approaching this as a partisan issue. They need to understand that this isn't about Democrats, Republicans, Tea Party, or any independent affiliations. It's about an American issue. We need jobs and training now in order to help our own economy recover so that we can take on the issue of too much debt with commitment and conquest. This is why I support, as one of your locally elected Republican officials, the American Jobs Act of 2011.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rosana Sanchez, a proud parent of 3 teenagers, Alex, who's in 11th grade, Jesus, who's in 9th grade, and Alyssa, who's in 8th grade. As a parent, I strive to provide my children with everything they need to be prepared for life's challenges. I have seen firsthand how the constant problems in California budget have impacted my children's education. I know we have a great need in California too. I feel that a modernized school could better prepare my children by lowering class sizes, more teachers, technology training, etc. I feel that education is imperative for people to advance, but it is equally important to provide all opportunities and resources to do so. The American Job Act provides such an opportunity by getting people working again. Investing in our schools will not only rejuvenate our economy, it will be an investment in the future of our country. Thank you.